Hi, everybody. My name is Gerry McConnery, and I'm really honored to be here today to be able to speak to AIDS Calgary and their change in name. AIDS Calgary was very instrumental in the beginning when I was newly diagnosed, and which was back in 1993. I would have loved to be here today, but I had other plans and I couldn't cancel them. So this'll be my day of that I will be on the beach. Sorry. When I first came to AIDS Calgary was an organization that dealt with people who were dying. We were newly diagnosed or diagnosed for a couple of years, and there was one medication, which was not very efficient at keeping us alive. I was told I had 3 to 5 years to live, and that was an average back in those days. It all depended when you got diagnosed. So AIDS Calgary was dealing with a lot of end of life stuff, was support stuff of even getting a haircut because of the stigma and discrimination, so they were giving haircuts. A lot of family visits back home, back to visit your family for one last time. Getting an apartment, getting a place to live, getting supports so that you had meals, getting support so that you had a funeral at the end. It was those kind of deals that at AIDS Calgary was dealing with at the beginning. I became a volunteer very soon after coming to AIDS Calgary and working with them and working and coming down and meeting other people at the Friday lunches. And it was a devastating time in the 90s because you saw somebody at the Friday lunch, you saw them get sicker, and pretty soon they weren't there anymore. They were dead. So this was a very bad time in our history where we lost a lot of people in our community. But then the medication started coming in. The combination therapy, the cocktail of drugs, yes. AIDS Calgary had to see that and to deal with the diet around the different medications. And you took this medication, but you also had to have this diet. Then you had to have the nausea and deal with the nausea. And AIDS Calgary was there every step of the way. Their programs followed along with it. Pretty soon, the combination therapy started to work. People were no longer dying. I saw people come from their deathbed, basically, once they went on the combination therapy. Oops, AIDS Calgary had to change all how they did things. Now people were living a little bit longer. Now it was changing the demographics. We had to change places where we were because we were on 10th Avenue here, the same as we are now, but we're over by the fire station. We went to a new location. We had people who, now we had a large population of gay and bisexual men, but we had the intravenous drug community also. Oh, but they weren't accepted in that building. They're users. We had lawyers, we had all kinds of things in the building. Trying to get a needle exchange into that building was like I was on the board at that time. It was like fighting tooth and nail. We were going to lose our lease because if we had a needle exchange, basically we were told. So that was a no-no. So we would exchange needles outside. But that's a different story. So AIDS Calgary evolved along the line. Everything changed. We no longer needed the support of getting a haircut, but you needed support getting an apartment. Dealing with the stigma and discrimination has always been, from the beginning, a very big thing. It still is today. Now we're around the 2000s. Now people are starting to live. Now we have to change things. We changed in our office. Our demographics are really changing. We now have toys in the reception area. Our demographic, we have women with children, young children, in our area. We had different programs changed. Clients kept changing. Our demographics really started changing. Now we had the Aboriginal community starting to come into the doors. We had the Black, African, and Caribbean community starting to come into the doors. But there was a lot of fear and discrimination there, so we had to go out and meet them. AIDS Calgary had to change. Now we're in the 2006 and 7. Well, oh my goodness, we're looking after Medicine Hat. We're growing. We're now across, a long distance. Suddenly the funding is changing around and we're looking after Banff also. So it was Banff to Medicine Hat. AIDS Calgary is no longer the name that we needed to have anymore. And it again, with the demographics changing, the people living longer, the whole thing, everything, we had to look at changing the name. Well, and AIDS is we weren't dying of AIDS anymore. We were living with HIV longer and longer with the medications. They're getting better, yeah. We went from, 21 medications to 3 pills a day because now they combine them all, but they were horse pills, so sorry about things have changed drastically. So we looked at changing the name. Well, what are we going to do? Well, we have to make it a little bit better. So it was HIV Community Link came out in 2013, I think it was. Now things have really changed. Now we can start, because we had moved again to this place. So now we could have a needle exchange. We could have outreach to the Black, African, and Caribbean community. We could start dealing with some of the stigma, some of the discrimination around people coming here and not being judged for who they were. And that's why we changed the name here on this side was always, so that people wouldn't have that fear and discrimination coming in the door. It was still there in the community, but this was a safe place. And and it's changed so much. We're dealing with the poverty, the homelessness. Now we're growing along different lines. We're dealing with the outreach to different communities. We're meeting people where they're at. We have an outreach team that goes to people all over the streets and does things. We're dealing with poverty, homelessness. HIV is not just a disease. It's a whole bunch of things. It's reaching different communities, and it's having to reach those people in the places where they're at. So my involvement kind of hasn't been as involved over the last couple of few years, as I'm a grandparent now. And I've been a very hands-on grandparent. So my 2 granddaughters are the biggest part of my life now. HIV is not the only part of my life anymore. I have a life outside of HIV, and but I found that the name had to change again. We had to move on, move forward. Anything that stagnates disappears and ends up gone. So we had to keep meeting people where they're at, how they're at, and who they are. It really, really makes me proud of where we've come and where we're going. So I hope that this agency that maybe I will call AIDS Calgary, just because that's something that I've always said in my mind, grows and stays around and is still here helping and doing the right thing 10 more years from now.